Hey, hockey fans. Erica L. Ayala from Locked on Kraken here. Welcome to another women's hockey spotlight on Locked on NHL. Today, we are going to welcome Reagan Carey. Now, Reagan Carey was appointed commissioner of the Premier Hockey Federation last April, and she is committed to delivering the PHF's mission to provide leading opportunities in women's professional hockey. And of course, we are talking to Commissioner Carey just as the puck will drop on the PHF All Star Showcase happening in Toronto this weekend on Sunday. Before coming to the PHF, Carey worked as USA Hockey's director of women's ice hockey and general manager of the U.S. women's national team from 2010 to 2018. She led the women's programs to 5 U18 titles, 5 world championship wins, and gold medal victory in 2018 at the Winter Olympics. Before USA Hockey, she worked with the Atlanta Hawks and the NHL's Atlanta Thrashers. So without further ado, let me take you to my conversation with Reagan Carey, the commissioner of the Premier Hockey Federation. As promised, we are here with the commissioner of the Premier Hockey Federation, Reagan Carey, joining us on Locked on NHL for our women's hockey spotlight just before the puck drops on the 2023 All-Star Weekend, which will be in Toronto, in Canada, for the first time. Commissioner, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Erica. Excited to be here. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We are excited to have you. We have the All-Star Weekend coming up. We've had some other activations, but usually when I have a guest, I like to start with just a fun question. It comes from a movie called Brown Sugar, and that is just, when did you fall in love with hockey? Because you have a history with hockey well before the PHF.
I do. Well, thanks. I picked up hockey solely because my brother played. We moved around a lot growing up. And so at some point we were in Chicago, and I think I was probably in that 5-year-old range. And my brother picked that up. We played a lot of street hockey. We got on the ice pretty quickly there and fell in love with it. From that point on, no matter where we were, I always found a way to make that the primary sport for me. But it was nice once I finally earned my way out of the street hockey goalie position. I think that was a big win for me, and eventually a long career. But yeah, it's fun to think about the original moments of those competitions.
Yeah, indeed. It's always so fun to hear what it was, whether it was a movie or a player, or a lot of people say siblings. So I love to hear it. And of course, as you mentioned, it's taken you very far, including right now with the PHF. Now, we mentioned prior to you hopping on that, of course, you're also with the USA women's program in particular, and have done some work there, which then led you to the Premier Hockey Federation. And we're starting to see overlap, Reagan, between that national team and really just the international game and the Premier Hockey Federation at this point in season 8. So I want to ask you, I know that there's kind of a tagline or a mantra that you're using this year, and it is a new era. And when you think about that and what you've been able to do in season 8 and what's coming down the pike, what does that mean to you? How would you describe that to new fans?
Yeah, well, I think you captured a lot of it in that lead up. Part of it's global, part of it's just experienced leadership. I mean, there's been so much work to put this league in the best position to have success in this next phase. So being able to leverage a lot of global experience in the game and a lot of women's hockey leaders and be able to bring that just depth chart to our front office is really important. But it's also about camaraderie and community. And I think, part of what goes along with the new era is us really being committed to honoring the past and making this moment important and inspiring the future. And by doing that with all our events, we just had a great event in Pittsburgh where we got to honor some women that have been blazing the way for us long before we got here. They look great. They're not that old, but they've certainly been doing it for a while, the Pittsburgh Pennies. And then, as we go into All-Star, we're going to be, celebrating women's hockey. Like I see the new era as an opportunity to celebrate so many great moments in women's hockey, but it's just hosted by the PHF. So we'll do that all season long in any way we can.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I kind of see it as a blend of kind of honoring the path and the trail that was blazed beforehand, while also just continuing to push toward the future, which is super exciting. And to your point, women's hockey, as we know it, even at the NCAA level, at the Olympics, is relatively young. So a lot of these trailblazers, they're still very active in hockey, and a lot of them, I'm sure, are very excited that in what will be in season 9, your second full season, you already, as commissioner, have ushered in 2 salary increases. We will have a 1.5 million salary cap per team next year. Would love for you to talk about what that means in this new era of women's hockey.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about the new era, it's also important to just emphasize resources on all facets, all fronts. So that salary cap increase is really essential to us doing many things, not just providing a livable wage for players and who are showing up every day and giving it their all, but it's also a matter of being able to have players be full-time professional hockey players, and so that we can have games whenever we want to in a schedule, and they can practice whenever they want to in regards to a team schedule, and not have to work around some of the realities of women's sports right now, when some of the players are having to do other jobs in addition to this pursuit of their dreams here as a pro hockey player. So yeah, resources are very important, and certainly the financial side of that is a big component for us. And we've got great investors, we've got great teammates and our sponsors, and that's what we're looking for, to collaborate and team up with people that see the long-term vision for women's sports and that are going to be with us for a long time.
I mean, it's so critical on so many levels. I mean, we just saw, as we're recording, that we had some midweek games. Those games against the Connecticut Whale and the Buffalo Beauts that were rescheduled happened midweek. And you mentioned Pittsburgh, which has been a city that's been really good to women's hockey at all levels throughout the last handful of years. And so I love that this increase just allows the game to change and to evolve in a lot of ways that we see at the highest levels of hockey. Of course, the NHL being one example, but a lot of others, which kind of brings me to another thing that I want to talk about. We've alluded to it with your experience and what this new era is, but we talked about All-Star Weekend, and it will be the second year that there's actually 3 teams, and kind of in a round robin style, but the teams will be unique in that they're not named after the captain of the team, but they're named essentially by region. And so we've got a USA team, a Canadian team, and a team world. And you talk about how that fits into everything that the PHF is trying to do and highlight as far as where the league is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited about it. The VP of Hockey Operations, Lisa Haley, and I got to call each player to invite them personally and talk to them about this format. And I can tell you they're fired up for a good competition to be able to not only represent their PHF team, but yeah, to energize that national team pride, and for the international team be able to galvanize and take on North America. So I think that will add to the competitiveness, and certainly the coaches on the bench will reflect that same spirit. So I think not surprising, given our front office is largely a lot of national team background. So yeah, it's always fun to bring out those rivalries, and I think it's going to be great for the fans.
I think so as well. I know we saw some friendly wagers among teammates. I host the Locked on Kraken show, and we saw USA Juniors player Maddie Beniers, also played in the Olympics, had to wear Jordan Eberle's sweater after the USA fell to Canada. So I'm very curious to see if we get any of that going on. But talk to us a little bit, Reagan, before we get you out of here, about, again, the activation that will happen this weekend. Big activation, which is, of course, All-Star Weekend in Toronto, in Canada, for the first time, the home of course, the Toronto Six. We talked a little bit earlier about Toronto adding to their firepower, which is kind of wild. But what can fans expect as they are either headed up to the Six or watching on ESPN2 and TSN?
Thanks. We're really excited to head to Toronto, and as you know, spent some time in Montreal with welcoming them to the league. So a lot of Canadian activation here with the PHF this season. It's been great. Such a strong hockey community there. So we're excited to show up, and we'll be there again, celebrating women's hockey through, the channels of the PHF. So we'll be at the Hockey Hall of Fame with all our players and some of our guest coaches on Saturday night, and doing some community events during the day on Saturday. And then Sunday, we'll welcome everybody to Mattamy Arena for what will be a great international battle of these great talented teams. So it'll be a round robin at the beginning, and then the top 2 seeds out of that will go on to compete for the championship.
It's going to be fun. Again, you can catch that on ESPN2 as well as TSN. And of course, for the rest of the regular season, the Premier Hockey Federation also can be found on ESPN Plus, and TSN might hear a familiar voice from a time or two. But Reagan, thank you so much for joining us here on Locked On NHL. And we can't wait to have you or maybe some other representation from the Premier Hockey Federation back on Locked On NHL.
Absolutely. We'll be here. Thanks.